Hey, hey, welcome to another episode. I am Dagny.
I'm Damali.
And in this episode, we want to reflect, discuss, analyze, pick apart this concept that dynamics we've been chatting about when it comes to celebrity culture. There's I don't know if you've been feeling this or seeing this or taking note of this, but there seems to be quite a shift happening in every aspect of our lives. But when we focus on celebrity culture, it seems like there is a real shift happening where they're really going through it in terms of their relevance, what if their messaging gets across the way they think it's supposed to, how the curtains, the doors, the windows, everything's just like outside, keke. All of it's outside. And we're just seeing so much of what initially we thought was glamorous or was the result of hard work and talent that now is giving a lot of just ew and gross. And looking at that in the bigger scheme of things in terms of what's happening in the world, on a large scale, as well as what's happening in the world individually as you or the people around you, it just seems that celebrity culture has grown to be very disconnected almost to what it possibly could be in terms of utilizing its platform and the money that those types of industries have. And seeing what that means with this shifting of, we understand celebrity culture actually, unfortunately, is based off of a lot of exploitation. What does that mean for art in terms of the meaning of art as artists and the meaning of art as people in terms of art in our lives and what it does for creativity or the value in our lives? So that is overall, that's the umbrella, Ella.
A.
There you go. That's what we're getting into in this episode. Now, to start with celebrity culture, we're going to focus in this discussion. We're going to focus on the music industry. All right. We could take any other of the entertainment industries, but for now, trying to keep it a little organized. Let's just do the music industry in this episode. And at the time that we are recording this, what recently occurred in the music industry is the Grammys, as well as the Super Bowl. And for the US reference, it's celebrity culture. But hold up, we're going to be bringing some international references that also connect to this, because that's what we do. So let's start with the Grammys, all right? And I'm going to say a little bit, then I'm going to throw it back to you, Damali.
Yes, throw it back.
I'm going to throw it back and forth. Let's go.
Yes.
With the Grammys, for me, I've noted that for some years now, the Grammys have felt like tarnished or faded or just not as exciting as I remember it back when I was maybe in grade school and we would watch it on Sunday, because on Monday at school, oh my gosh, did you see what NSYNC did? Or did you see what so-and-so did? Or did you see who, it just seemed, it was so exciting of what wore what or what performance they did. And for a while now, the Grammys has now seemed to be something that just seems so far removed from what's going on in the world. And just seems like a disappointed or confused circus show in terms of people putting off this performative measure for publicity stunts. And of course, obviously performances, as well as awards that we always question, why did they get it? Who voted for that? Who even listens to this person? And at this time, which I think I would like to say maybe 2020 was the start of this shifting, of this time of we can't pretend that this industry is living in a bubble. And now this year and last year, where we're now seeing the dots being connected of like, did you know, even though this is an entertainment industry, their money is also funding some serious atrocities that are happening also? Or do you know this entertainment industry also, like the whole, I call it sounds like hazing in terms of the types of methodologies or ideologies that they're following in terms of which artists get the publicity and the clout and the support. And then find out those same artists are the ones who are also facilitators of different types of abuse. It just causes the Grammys to me to just seem so ew. It's like, why would you go to such a party when you already know everybody there is nasty? Like, why would you do that? Like, I don't, it's just, and no offense if you are somebody who went or this is your industry, like, but I know you understand what I'm talking about when I'm referring to these things where it just seems like, why look at an award show that just looks like it's full of puppet plants? Like anything that's being said is a publicity stunt. Any speech is not inspiring, is another publicity something. And like all of it is trying to cater to a certain gaze or advertisement or views of some kind that just feels so exploitative of one's energy and time for those who decide like their whole lives are going to be about, did you know what so-and-so said to so-and-so and what they wore on the red carpet and why they did that and all this stuff. And I think it has for a while now taken away from the beauty or the art of music and all the types of different people behind the scenes that actually have to get the music done. And I think the shifting is kind of removing the hype celebrity. I don't want to use the word culture again, but just the hype celebrity industry is kind of like removing it from its pedestal of them not being the go-to for entertainment or inspiration or even advice for anything. And even though we see all of that, I'm waiting to see how that unfolds of like, is any of that going to be stopped or changed, or the exploitation just continues, but now we just know, now it's just public knowledge that we know about it. That's where I'm going to start for now. So I'm going to throw that back up to you.
Okay, thank you. I have caught the ball. Okay.
Thank you.
It's the methodologies, ideologies, and puppet plants for me.
Thank you.
That's what it's about. You know,
we need to put that on a t-shirt.
Main, you know, methodologies, ideologies, and puppet plants.
There you go. Dissertation and TED Talk. Come on.
Dissertation and thesis. Let's go. Come on. Masterclass. It's a bunch of puppet plants. I love that. You know, I love the puppet plant because it's like puppet, like puppets on a string, and then plant, like industry plant. You know what I mean?
That's kind of what we're with, you know what I was putting down.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You gotta coin that. You gotta coin that. You know what I mean? I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yes.
I love it.
Actually, the idea of this podcast came from like I never sit and watch the whole award shows anymore because I'm like ew, but I see it. It's around, and I'll see clips sometimes on the Grammys. It's on Instagram, YouTube, a pop up, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm curious, what's going on here, kind of thing. And when I watched it, I'm just like, there's this bitterness just coming into my mouth, and I'm just kind of like, okay, I didn't eat anything. So it's obviously not the food I'm eating. You know what I mean? The food is the Grammys. You know what I mean? Or the award show, you know, as a metaphor. It's like, I didn't like, you know, when you eat like food and you think it's going to be delicious and good, but then you eat it and it's like, oh, that's not what I ordered or what I wanted. Now what do I do? And then you have to figure, do I let the waiter know or not? No, I'm just kidding. Please let the waiter know. But no, I don't know. I watch it. I'm just like, what? What is the point of this? It just seems so useless and pointless. I'm like, we know the world is on fire. Everybody knows it's on fire. So why are we like acting like nothing is happening, you know? And then all of this stuff coming out about celebrities doing all this like nasty stuff and like inappropriate stuff and abuse, all these horrible things that's happening with some celebrities I'm sure you've heard of that are all over the news. And yet we go to the award show and we act like nothing is happening. Like it's just, this is just a regular Tuesday, you know? And I just was watching it and I was just like, it's sad that when innocence is like lost. Because when I was younger, like a teenager, it was fun. It used to be fun. I didn't have to think about all this extra weird stuff. And I think, I suppose because of social media also, you have more, it's easier to find information about people, I guess. And then also you know more about the celebrity, and like part of that is okay, but the other side is like, I've never met you in my entire life. Should I really know about like what you do first thing in the morning? Like, do I really know how you like your cereal and your eggs? You know what I mean? Like, what you do in the bathroom. Like, I'm exaggerating, but actually not really. You have all this information, so it's as if the whole shield or veil or whatever has been lifted, and we see all of this stuff. And granted, it's okay, like, to know about what you want for cereal or how you like your eggs in the morning. But now we're learning other stuff, the abuse, the disgusting stuff, and not so much in the industry, but in the world. All these horrible things are happening. And we know that, we all know that wherever there's a lot of money, that money, you need money to cause abuse, right? You need money to be able to control people or use, things like that. And money makes the world go round, and there's a lot of it in the industry. So with all that money, they're doing messed up stuff, right? And so everybody knows this, but we're all just like clapping and smiling and dressing up and all this like stuff. And I'm like, I just don't care anymore. Like, why, and then that makes me think of value, right? And it's like, can we keep on ingesting this music or have people make this type of art or music that is like you said, disconnected from the world, right? Like, can we continue living in a world where, we keep on making money and dumb songs and dumb things, and it's like, but like what's happening in the world? Like the world is literally on fire. Like, what is going on? Um, and it makes me think of like the word underrated, right? Like a lot of times there's this word of underrated artists, right? Like people who don't get enough flowers or people that don't. And I'm like, I think it's the people that just don't drink the Kool-Aid. Like, I think it's the people that don't want to sell their souls. And that's why they're underrated. Like, they don't want to, because in order, especially nowadays, to be that big and be so famous, you got to be selling something, got to be some weird stuff going on, right? Or you've just been lucky to not drink the Kool-Aid, but I think that's very hard, right? So I'm like, if you're underrated, I kind of like you more, like, because then I know you're not selling your soul, like, and then often those underrated artists tend sometimes do more stuff. It's more like, that feels more real to me, kind of thing, even if it's not going all over the news and all over the world. Um, and yeah, so it was just kind of disappointing to watch. And it's not, like we said, it's not anyone's fault. It's not like we're like, oh, burn all the award, burn it, ban it all, although, I mean, I don't know. I suppose there's some things you could ban if you're gonna be boycotting other stuff, like, but I don't know, I just saw, and then people, especially when it's not like surprising, like there's some people like, yeah, I'm sure everyone knows like Taylor Swift and stuff like that, but like, I mean, it's great she gets awards, but were we surprised? It's like, yeah, I don't think we were surprised. We kind of knew you were going to get that award, right? And then everyone's just talking about awards and talking about, oh, well, this person did this to someone and this person didn't hug this person. And I'm just like, the world is on fire, guys. The world is on fire. Why are we like, what is happening? And I just think that, from what I know, when it comes to creativity and art, it should be used to, it's not like we don't want art and entertainment. We do, but there needs to be a connection to it. And I think I don't know if we talked about this, but there needs to be an accountability thing going on that's not really, like you're paying money or you're giving your time to like entertainers and celebrities. So I feel like there should be a sense of holding them accountable, and we can't keep on like, I mean, I think there's already a shift happening, like you said, in like 2020, where, obviously, when it comes to being an entertainer, your biggest like, I don't know how to say it, your biggest job is like concerts, right? And social media and TV and our awards and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden 2020 happens and COVID happens, and all of a sudden, oh, we can't have concerts. Oh, you can't make music. Oh, you can only stay by yourself alone in your room because you have to be isolated because of COVID. And all of a sudden celebrities are not that important anymore. You know what I mean? All of a sudden it's like, why do we, like, you don't, we don't really, and I think that was a big deal. And it kind of, I was already kind of feeling some type of way about award shows, but that was really like, yeah, there needs to be a shift, and I think there is a shift coming. I think that also may be why there's so much news and can I say filth, like the dirty laundry coming out of the industry. Same thing with the whole political stuff going on, because there is a shift happening. And I do think we do need to have accountability, and we do need to have value. We can't. Often people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. People can do whatever. Mind your business. Who cares and everything. But I feel like we need to care though, right? Because you're influenced by everything you ingest. Like it's not like, oh, it's I can get on my day. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, no, but it does matter, right? That's how we got here, right? For people not caring is why the world is on fire. Do you know what I mean? And I just think, especially as I've gotten older, I just think like I think it's everybody, like it's millennials too. We're trying so hard to like find a solution. We're trying to find value in this like weird world, but we need to find something to hold on to, as opposed to just like drowning all the time. Like we need to do something. I think we're all kind of like, what is something that, because our like it's almost as if our souls feel like there's some emptiness, or not emptiness, but like we need something and we haven't found it. And I think the first step is holding not only the music industry, but just holding everyone accountable more, and finding more value in what we do. And there's, it's fine to make music, it's fine, but like I think that there needs to be more and more connection to people and like what's happening in the world, and things like that. I think so. So that's what that first part, that's what I would say about that, where we need to hold people accountable, and we can't keep on acting like, yeah, we're just gonna go back and it's like something horrible happens, and then we just kind of are like, oh, okay, go back to just drinking tea, like, you know what I mean, like, and it's kind of an issue, right?
So then before we go into that, segues into the next part, I did want to make a note in terms of I think it's a good point in terms of this notion of accountability, and how I feel like we need to, I'm not sure if it's like we need to redefine it or be more honest about it, because I feel like we end up doing a deal of, oh, there's a sense of, we put celebrities on this pedestal and then expect them to do stuff that like humans would not do, kind of thing.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when we find out that they're actually human in a glossy suit, we just freak out. Like, no, there's no possible way. Since we've put you on this pedestal, you should be behaving a certain way. You should know all about this subject. All of your money should go here, or all of your music should be talking about this, that, the other. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when it comes to accountability, which maybe this comes in with the shifting, removing celebrity culture from a pedestal, where now it's like, actually, this accountability is among all of us. That that it's fine to have it's fine if your music wants to be only focused on partying, or only focused on making breakfast, or only focused on the feel-good vibes of some kind. But you cannot continue to act as if you're living in a vacuum or a bubble, removed from knowing that your industry is also harming people. And I think that accountability needs to be reflective, not only on celebrities as we remove them from the pedestal, but also on ourselves, which I think is what now we're in this era where we're trying to figure out what that looks like. Like, we're starting off with, okay, boycott stuff, starting off with try to get yourself educated on stuff. And I think that is the process we're going through now, to figure out what would accountability look like now, where we want people to show up as opposed to after the fact. Well, you should have known, or you should have done this, or you should have done that kind of thing, which tends to end up being a petty circular argument that never gets to the solution beyond, oh, this person donated money because they have millions, and so that should be enough. Why does their music need to talk about it? Or why does their whole branding should talk about it? When I do see that there's a fine line, because at least in the US music industry, there's been this issue of trying to pump up some artists as if they're activists just because they claim they don't like, I don't know, running over cats, or they don't like, like the most different issues they'll claim they really care about. And then because they're a celebrity, you're going to pump them up to make them seem like they should be the voice of it. When it's like, did you not forget that this is still a regular person who unfortunately just has access to a whole lot of resources and spotlight? So to me, it's like, it's not so much that I'm expecting you to know everything, because I know you most likely do not. Mm-hmm. But instead of taking up space and causing a mess, utilize that platform to get the experts to be heard about what the solution is, and put your money where your mouth is in terms of making sure they actually get what they need. That sort of thing, I feel, is like that's like the direction of accountability to me when it comes to people who are well resourced. And whenever they say something, the waves will move. Like if you got authority like that, you need to be responsible with it, as opposed to sometimes I feel it's just like you're using it to further exploit distractions when you could be using it to deal with real stuff. So when you see celebrities claiming, oh yeah, you guys are going to donate for something. I'm like, donate what? You could have just purchased the whole thing and fix it. What are you talking about? Donate? Aren't you guys like billionaires? What are you doing? Like, it doesn't, it's kind of mismatch of like, why are you acting like you're on the same level as others who really are donating from their paycheck when you could just buy the whole thing? So as well as accountability of like, if you know your industry is like this, why are you further enabling it to harm people? But I feel like that's a moving, evolving definition when it comes to how we are holding people accountable, who we are also at the same time removing from the pedestals that really should never have been created in the first place. Now that moves us then to broadening the scope a bit when it comes to the Grammys and international artists.
Oh, wait.
And we're bringing this.
Can you pause real quick?
Okay.
One pause before we go on to the next point. I was going to also add about what you said about accountability and like putting your money where your mouth is, and how like I feel like back like years and years ago, it was more like that. Did we mention that before? Where like back in the day, people were more, artists were connected to what was happening, like on
like Aretha Franklin,
exactly,
and the Black Panthers,
Bob Marley, the Black Panthers, like. They were all, their music was connected to what was happening, and it was important. And whether, Michael Jackson, whether it was directly speaking to that, or whether it was like there was always some form of, and we hold people accountable, and like the music was really, for the people going out there and in the streets and the peace fighters, and like all of that was really, the moment. Whereas I feel like nowadays it seems more like a photo op kind of thing, or we it's not real, and we're all just playing this game. It's called, oh, let's just pretend there's a fire behind us, but we're not going to look at it, kind of thing. So, so it's interesting to see how the industry has changed and shaped, and how music is used now, and like it's not, it's just different, right? So I just want to put that point in real quick. But,
right. No, it's a good point, because I think that also notes, which will go with this next point that we're going to go on, in terms of how authority in these industries are moving. Because at that time, that was happening regardless of who owned the Grammys or who owned the labels, who still were people who possibly were still being exploitative. While now you'll have a whole award show and nobody mentions atrocities happening all over the world that everybody knows the particular country you're sitting in is a facilitator of. And it's like, we're not like, everyone's on mute about it. And it's like, well, when everybody knows it's happening, but then when a more appropriate atrocity is happening, oh, now we need to bring out the church. We need to bring out a choir, and let's have a moment of silence for it. Selective. So those sorts of things, it's like, no, all of this is too performative. And you obviously must have everybody on some serious leash. If not even one person could just like at the end of their speech be like, and cease this or stop this or something. It's like, y'all got to work on that. Y'all got to work on it. So that leads us to this next point of broadening the scope when it comes to the music industry, the let's say Western music industry, and how international artists interact with them. Now, for this year, the Grammys decided to create a whole new category for African artists. All right. And an African artist did, a South African artist actually did win it. And that was a big historical thing because it's the first time this category exists. And then you give it to this person. So, wow, they're the first person to get the award. And then also, they also had, and that was Tyler. And then they also had, there you go. And then they also had, for the first time, apparently, an African artist perform at the Grammys, which was Burna Boy. Now, on the jump, I'm going to say congratulations. Okay, I'm going to start off. I'm going to start off like that. Congratulations. This is wonderful. It's lovely. We're seeing African music gradually getting their flowers. Okay, wonderful. We love it. Keep going. Go forth and prosper. All right. Now to the nitty gritty. Okay. Since my frame of reference of I am privy to U.S. music industry history. Okay. And for you guys who you listening may not know, but there was a time. All right. And I'm just going to give, just as a example, Michael Jackson. There was a time when he would get nominated for a Grammy, it wasn't best pop album. It was best Black American something. Like it was some sidelined category that he is just with two other people, because there was only two other Black people you allowed to be at the Grammys. That's where they sidelined him, right? So it took a long, and that was like late 70s. To look to like in the 90s, when now it's like MTV Michael Jackson something award, you actually have to name it after him. Like that's just within 2 decades. The US music industry is a little allergic, just a little bit, but a little allergic to actual equality when it comes to their music and who they actually give props to. So if it took that long just for Black artists to actually get to be in the same category, because even today, now that is an example of like, okay, something from the 70s and now today, maybe you'll have a Black artist in the best album category among other races. But even today, best hip hop something doesn't even make it on the stage. They won't even announce it on television at all at the Grammys, even though it is a category. Why do you think that is? Again, allergies. Okay. So when it comes to, exactly, when it comes to we have a new category for African artists, because prior to that, I don't know if they were sidelining them to the International Act or the Side Stage Act, but you just want to put them in the same act. And to be honest, that Water song you're noting, it's technically like pop, piano, Afro genre, kind of, right? Like it's being played in all your streaming platform playlists with every other artist. So just because they're not from the US, do you really need to put them in this sideline category? Or would we feel some kind of way if you put them in the same category as US artists and she actually won against them? Would that be like considered, I don't know, an attack? Why are we doing that? So for me, it's like, I don't want to diminish the fact that they won. I don't want to diminish the fact that this category was created, but we got to be strategic. We got to be smart about this. For the past few years, African music, in particular, starting with more of Afrobeat and now Amapiano, has gradually crossed over in the music industry, where it is being played in other parts of the world. Now, I think this is a timing thing as well, because of the fact that you are listening to music through streaming platforms instead of just what Carson Daly wants to play on the radio station, So you possibly have even more access to international artists and music. So if your team is able to get you so that Spotify will pump you up to be in playlists that other people may not listen to, okay, great. Now you've kind of made your way inside so you can be at the Grammys. And that was lovely because even at this particular Grammys, they had like African artist parties and all these different people came to celebrate and make it seem like, hey, Chale, Africa has arrived. And again, I don't want to diminish that. It's wonderful. And I understand why it's so exciting because the US music industry, for whatever reason, and maybe many reasons, is still seen as like the epitome of if you can make it there, like you've made it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What I want to note that I'm hoping our wonderful African music artists are understanding is how to play the game with the Western music industry. Uh-huh. And like I noted how Black artists in the US music industry have had a lot of time to study that, a whole lot of time to be burnt by that. And unfortunately, now that we know some of them have decided to use that time to abuse a whole bunch of people with that. Okay. I hope they take more notes from the Koreans and the Southern or Central American artists who have crossed over, had some time with the US music industry and what they did with that. Because I feel like this is a lovely time for African artists to, yes, sure, go ahead and be a representative of your country and of your genre outside, but make sure that you are leveraging that to bring it back to where you are truly, genuinely valued. So for example, if we're going to go further back, Central America, Southern American artists, I'm thinking Shakira. I'm thinking Ricky Martin. I'm thinking Mark Anthony. I'm thinking Maluma. I'm thinking of these types of people who they did their crossover. They even dyed their hair blonde in order to be appealing to the US audience. They did their stuff in English. They did the different duets. They came to the Grammys. But they always maintained a connection to their home country. They always maintained a relevance to their home country. They never just completely disconnected and wanted to just be in LA and that's it, or just be in New York and that's it. Which is why now, fast forward, regardless of what trends are going on in the US music industry, they are still very relevant and respected in world music and in their own country, and leveraged it in a way. I think now in Colombia, there's now like a huge statue of Shakira that looks like some kind of like goddess statue sort of thing. And then it was so cute because they even did like, when they opened it, they had like these dancers doing like the belly dancing thing as if they're like dancing to a goddess.
Queen.
And I was like, you know what? 100 years from now, we're going to say that was goddess Shakira. Like, yes, do it. Yes. Another example with Korean artists, which of course Damali can take note of because she's the expert, the professor. She wrote
calm
book
down.
But the way in which BTS crossed over and took over, right? Huh. You noted how strategic they were of like they never lost themselves in the way the US industry was all clamoring for them, even bringing them to the White House for no reason, right? They did what they had to do. They kept it respectful. They picked up their money and went right back to Korea. That's what they did, right? And even do English songs here and there, but they stick to their deal. And it's like their industry is the priority. But if you want to tag along on their spaceship, you're more than welcome to if you can afford a ticket. But we're not trying to get inside to LA. Y'all are actually trying to get inside to Korea. So that there's a difference there, right? And I just feel like we're still very much in the early stages of this for African artists, because unlike South Korea, unlike Southern and Central America, the African music industry still has some way to go when it comes to developing its own self to be able to move money the way the Korean music industry can move money.
Yes.
Or the way the US music industry can move money. So that your artists, because the big thing right now that's happening is that African artists, they get paid more, or they seem sometimes to feel like they're getting more if they're outside. because their industry over here sometimes can't compete yet. But then the added thing of like, there's still a hindrance because the Grammys are not going to get the visa for you to go there. So some people still can't even go because of a mishap with passports to go back and forth. So I'm really hoping that our wonderful African artists, as they continue to celebrate their wins, celebrate this newfound attention the Western music industry is giving them, I hope they're being very smart of not getting lulled in the glitz and the fast talking propaganda that the US music industry and the Western music industry is very good at, which unfortunately would, if you get lulled in that, they will just dilute you. Like they will dilute your sound, they will dilute your music, and they still won't pay you fully. They will still sideline you in the African category somewhere else instead of putting you up front center stage. Even the performance with Burna Boy, it was okay. I saw a clip of it, but it's still, you can't just have Burna Boy. You needed to have Brandy and somebody else there in order for the US audience to, I don't know, feel more comfortable that you're there. Or even Afrobeat songs, I'm noting that the ones that get picked to be played, it wouldn't be like a full Afrobeat song. It needs to be slightly popish or diluted. Like I forget which that one is with Selena Gomez and that guy.
And that guy.
I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the guy's name. But there's a song that they both have that was getting a lot of spins or a lot of plays. But again, it's because it's a pop Afrobeat song with a US artist on it, kind of thing. And so I'm hoping that it's fine. Go ahead and get your money. Go ahead and get your awards. Like, yes, but be strategic on how you're leveraging that to bring it back to make sure that your own industry in Africa can compete and actually does not need it, so that you don't get further exploited the way Black US music has always been exploited.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's kind of like if you go and visit someone's house and they they give you all this food, they let you stay the night, and then you're like, oh, okay, so do I live here now? Do I live here? And it's like, no, you're just visiting. What are you talking about? Like, that's like, like, why do you think that you can eat what, it's like that, I think. It's like, you don't live here, you're just here for a short time. And that's how it is being in the US industry if you're not from here. It's kind of like you're not, it's kind of like they kind of, in some instances, they kind of allow you, to be here. And if they are done with you, they're like, okay, bye, and they're good at diluting stuff. Yeah, you need to know how to play the game. But yeah, Latin America able to do it too. Shakira can switch back and forth. She can do the English, the Spanish. I mean, she's all over, here, there, everywhere, and she's still very famous in her own right, in her own place, right? And the same thing, of course, got to talk about K-pop, because I am an army, so got to talk about BTS. But I'm not going to get too, because if I go over with BTS, this will be a very long podcast. Anyway, or much longer. But yeah, BTS was there seamlessly able to do that kind of thing. They definitely, their company, their place, they understand the game. They understand how to strategically be. We did our thing, we made all our money here. Boom, we're back in Korea doing our thing, and we're done. And it's not like they didn't have pushback also. Like, it's not like they didn't also have issues with, I think that like the billboards had a thing where they want to change the rules or something because, oh my God, they're just like winning too much and all this stuff. And of course, one of the people are like, if you have a problem with us winning, just change your rules then. Like, what is the issue? It's not my problem, right? And then when they're like, oh my God, like we can't listen to them because they don't sing in English or whatever. And it's like, okay, we'll just do an English song then. And then we'll go back. Like, you know what I mean? And then they have the thing where it's not only them coming to America, American artists are going to Korea to produce stuff with them. You see what I mean? So that's how you have to leverage that, where BTS is not, they're never like, oh, well, maybe America is our home. Maybe the industry here can be our home. No, it's always Korea. That's it. Like, there's no there's no confusion there. And even if there are like collaborations of artists here, or they're here for a long time, or they do concerts, it's still, at the end of the day, you go back home. That's, and that make your money here and then go back home and do what you have to do in your actual country. Obviously politics and things and culture are different in all countries. So there's many reasons for why it's like they have figured out the strategy versus some other countries, maybe not as much. But yeah, but you need to like not, don't like, don't forget where you come from. Kind of like, don't forget that, this US thing is here for a bit. And then they're like, okay, now on to the next thing, now on to the next international person that we're going to pump up and then, leave alone kind of thing. And yeah, and we're still, and for it to be, and the same thing with Shakira, right? She's been able to very seamless. Her music is still, she still performs in America and she still performs there. She still and it's very, everybody knows who she is, and she was even on The Voice and things like that, but she still goes back and does her own thing, right? So I do think that with the international thing, it's great, it's awesome. I'm not saying that, oh, forget it, like forget about the US, we don't need, no, like you can still come here and do stuff, but just remember what you're using your thing for, and remember that, and always be watching your back, because like the US music industry is not, it's not for the faint of heart, I guess. And there's a lot of machinations and things that they do to, make stuff happen. And if you don't get that, or if you're lulled into something, or you think that, oh, now I can sit, now I visited this house and now I live here. No, like that's not that's not, it's a very like, there's a specific way of I feel like when it comes to Adele, it's a little bit different, I guess, because it's British in America, so it's a different situation. But Adele too is that one where she came over and is like, ah, like she's everywhere, and then she goes back and she's quiet, and then ah, and then quiet. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of ah, and then we're gone. Like that's kind of what happened. Because have you heard of Adele lately? No, because she's like, I'm back home, or I'm somewhere, and then make music, whatever. And so yeah, I do think that, I mean, it's awesome just having international stars at the award show at all, or in the industry, or hearing their music on the radio. It wasn't always like that. Like, it go 10, 20 years ago, that wasn't happening all the time, right? It was kind of like, what? It was so, like, I remember when Ricky Martin and Shakira, it was so foreign. We're like, who is this? And like when Shakira came, I mean, I know she's blonde, she was blonde at the time, but when she first came, I remember my mom,
it was a red and black.
In the beginning, it was, red and black hair, and she looks so cool, and that very strong, powerful voice that we've never heard before. You know what I mean? And we're like, who is this? And then all of a sudden we have Hips Don't Lie, and then we had the belly dance. It was so new and different, and then we're like, oh my god, who's this word? It's so cool, and it was so cool. Like, I love Shakira. She is a queen. Like, I was talking to one of my, to segue a bit, I was talking to one of my friends about this. I mentioned Shakira as someone I won't go to a concert for, and she was like, Shakira is the queen. I'm like, yes, she is. You know what I mean? Like, she's amazing. But yeah, really able to, go put your foot in both places and without losing sight of things. And she's doing stuff everywhere, and not diluting your, culture. You're just kind of like, you kind of have to be a bit of a chameleon, right, in this kind of industry, So yeah, being able to leverage that more and be more strategic with that is, I think, important, so that you don't get like thrown around and then be like, oh, that was cool, we did that for 2 seconds and that's the end. Okay, kind of thing. There's always some new thing coming, some new international star. I mean, of course, nowadays, even if there isn't an international star that's crossed over, because of like, platforms like Spotify and stuff like that, and people are not so much like, it's not so much buying CDs as much, not as much the radio. It's like, you're not even listening to the radio. You're putting, you choose your own music on Spotify or whatever platform you use, and then you use that. So you can still have access to them regardless of where they are. But it's still a big deal if you can actually see them on the stage here in the US, and you're like, oh, or they're able to do more concerts in your own, in the US. So you're like, oh, okay, then I don't have to go all the way to a different continent to watch them. They will come here at some point, and then I can watch them here, right? Which was lucky for me for BTS, right? Because like,
indeed,
you know what I mean? If they weren't around here, it's very expensive to go to a different continent, I think, to see someone in concert. So it's nice when they come to your own country, right? But yeah, I do. It's interesting to see it. It would be cool if we, finally have a time where we don't keep on making like kind of obscure titles for awards for people. Like, it's like, you're not, it's like, oh, here's the award for, it's like some random thing, like, here's the award for album with where they sing about chocolate. Like, it's like some random, I mean, I exaggerate, but you know what I mean? Like, they
best
did
album
that
with 5 tracks. Here you go.
Yes, here you go. And you're the only one in the category. So you're not even, come on. Like,
exactly.
this is this is
Exactly.
ridiculous, you know? Like, and I think they've even done that with Beyonce, which is
Yes,
funny
they
because you
did.
think you think they wouldn't do that. She's been here, she's American, she's doing it. But when she started talking ish and really talking ish, if you know what I mean, they made, oh, this is some random contemporary whatever. And then, you know, and I love Adele, like I love her up and down, but that speech was so like, ma'am, just give her the award. No, I'm just
Exactly. Would you just get off the
I
stage?
love you, Adele.
Give her the
But
award.
it was so, I don't know if y'all millennials remember that when like Adele won, when you know Beyonce was supposed to win.
Yeah.
And Adele won, she's all crying. She's like, oh my God, I love you, Beyonce. Oh, sorry. Oh my God, I love you, Beyonce. Horrible British accent. Yes. I'm sorry. It's a joke. Guys, calm down. But yeah, when she was like, oh my God, I love Beyonce, and Beyonce was crying too. And I feel like Beyonce was crying for a different reason. Like that was not, you know what I mean? How far we've come and we still don't get it. You know? Like Adele thinks that we're crying for the same thing. No, we're not, ma'am.
Exactly.
You know? And so yeah, and it's true. If Beyonce doesn't do a certain thing, like, oh no, she's not gonna, and then people don't understand. Sorry, we always like segue, but it's Beyonce, so we can segue a bit on her. But people think that Beyonce's had like so many awards, so what's the big deal? I'm like, it's not about the number, it's the type of the award, it's the what she gets awards for. It's what there's so many nuances to that kind of thing, and then how the more her albums are more about what's going on in the world, and the more they touch on political issues and cultural issues and things that, and she's able to touch on these issues in a very like smooth and like almost indirect way, but you know exactly what she's talking about. The more you get into more serious issues, the more we're kind of like, she's not getting, she won't get the kind of awards, or she won't get certain recognition for things because, oh, we thought that you just talked about women power. We thought, why are you talking about, wait, why are you talking about the issues of what's happening, you know? And and they tend, and I feel like sometimes of international artists, sometimes the US industry can kind of make them look like babies sometimes, or make them look like they're less than they are. I know they kind of, maybe not so much as Shakira, but I know with BTS and K-pop people, they tend to do that with them. Like they make it like they're like, oh my God, they're so cute. They're like 10. Like, man, this is a 30-year-old man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, granted, skincare on point. Skincare on point. Still, so they look younger than all y'all. But yeah, they make it like BTS are babies, or as if they're like, oh my God, they're so cute. Look at the little, and like they like, no, they're these are like serious artists that are seriously doing stuff, and you're talking to them like, you know, like I know I'm segueing a bit as I do, but with BTS, there was something, they had some question about, oh, BTS, do you want to like work with, like, is it your dream to work with Justin Bieber? Like that was like the question, and the face that Namjoon's the leader, and he was like, yeah, I mean, we're both in the same company now, so if he wants to, you know, come to Korea to hang out, like the way he said it was such a diplomatic.
Do you see how they're trained?
Diplomatic.
Trained to a T. Exactly.
Yes, that was the. They're like, is it your dream? Like, why would it be a dream? Like, they're literally on top of the world. Like, if they call Justin, no shade to Justin Bieber, but like, they can just call Justin Bieber on the phone. Aren't they like in the same company now? So that kind of thing where we kind of make them less than, and they've been in the industry for a long time too. It's not like they just came here yesterday. You know what I mean? But I suppose if you don't really know them that well, or you kind of, it's an international, and I think it's different because like it, like I feel like for like Spanish artists are a little bit easier to deal with because, hey, they're speaking Spanish and English are kind of, you know, predominantly used in America, right? So that we can stomach, you know, and it's you know, I think we understand it more. But when it goes into like East and it's like Asia. Yeah. Asia is a little bit different. We don't really, you know, like, you know, they look different. The language is really different. They don't even have letters. Like, it's a whole completely different thing.
And so I think some people, the U.S. did put some Asian people in concentration camps.
Yeah, there's that too. You know, that part, you know, it's a little bit, the Spanish history is different than the Asian history. And Asia tends to be very far away. It is very far away, right? But and people don't know a lot, so people are like kind of weird about. I'm not weird about because like I love Asian culture, but like, well, East Asian I should say, because there's that too, because there's India there too. It's a different Asian, but the point is, it's a lot more different for us, and people are like, wait, but they're singing Korean. I don't get that. What is that? I can't even make it. What is that? Like, and which, it's fine. You'll be okay. It's fine. If you can't understand the music, you can still enjoy it, okay? And so yeah. And yeah, you don't know the depth of things. And it's okay. I mean, they understand the game and they play it up. They know what, but it's always like it's just interesting to see how the divides are. But the fact that they're even here and all these other K-pop people are coming in and they also know how to play the game. And there's even other, I don't know if you know Eric Nam, but he also is another, like, he was born in America. He's American, but his parents were Korean, right? So he's
Okay, I think
American,
I've
but
heard
he's
of him.
become
Yeah.
quite famous in Korea with like he
Okay.
has a podcast, he has a show, he does music, he does movies, he does everything. And like you see him there and he knows exactly how to do because he's American too, he knows exactly how to play the game in America and exactly the game in Korea. He knows exactly how to present himself, how to speak. And he's been on interviews here in America and it's very like seamless. I don't know. I don't think his music has crossed over as much or as intensely as like BTS, of course. But he, it's just you can see that they understand the assignment and they know how to like do the whole crossover thing. And it would be cool to see, more of that with Africa too, with African artists where, okay, you made it here, you got it, you did the thing. I know Burna Boy was in the Fenty thing, for Rihanna's deal, that show. So hey, you're there, you're here, and then the water girl, you pour the water on yourself. Okay. I'm sorry, the song is great, but I'm like, she literally pours water on herself. Like, let's be honest. Like that's what, but it would be interesting to see them be able to do that more and cross over more and make sure to have things more on your own terms and not be too watered down or, diluted, because sometimes the US industry can be like that, which, it's that's the way it is. But yeah. I would say that it would be cool to see that because it's true. It always seems like the US is seen as the epitome. Like, if you don't make it here, then what are you? Who are you? Which is true. A lot of times you have these artists that they're like in America, it's like, we don't care about this person. And then you go to their country and they're gigantic. They're so big and famous and huge, and people are like, well, they didn't make it in America. So I'm like, that's not like America is not the world. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's like the world is not just America. Let's calm down, but they've done a good job of exporting their culture everywhere. And well, I mean, culture, well, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's like a mixed match of it, but yeah, that's what I would say about that.
So then as
you wrap
final,
up, I guess.
Indeed. But as our final note with this, now that we've taken one part, broadened the scope, now let's bring it back into the home of souls, right? Yes. We're going to bring it back inside, all the way inside. No, and let's reflect on, with what we know about how the music industry, entertainment industry has continued to dilute and exploit art. How do we, who are consumers of art, possibly create art? How does that influence the value of creativity and art in our lives? And how can we be more intentional and proactive in maintaining that value when it comes to what we are consuming and what we are allowing in these industries? Because part of it does require us to buy stuff, to watch stuff, to click on stuff. So we still somewhat sometimes are a proponent of or facilitator of some of this stuff continuing because we give it our attention. Like, part of our currency is the attention. And for me, I do feel like it definitely takes active effort to not allow the ugliness of the industry, the unfairness, the injustices of the industry to make one feel like the art is ugly too, or to make it feel like the art is contaminated too, you kind of thing. So like, I don't even want to hear it because there might be whispers of that stuff in the song. Like, that's kind of sometimes how it feels.
There is. It's terrifying.
Exactly. Sometimes that's how it feels. And you're like,
someone died in the back. What? Exactly. Oh my God, this is my favorite song.
Maybe I'll just get the instrumental because it's happening, And I feel like this is where the repeated discussions about how do independent artists get distribution or can create and get people to hear what they are creating outside of what the octopus conglomerate corporations that only want certain things to be heard. I feel like as consumers or people who create this, I think we should continue being intentional about where we put our attention. I think there's going to continue being a shift of like, if you spend so much time on celebrity gossip, if you spend so much time on really having like an inner hatred for people you don't know anything about, you know what I'm saying? Or you spend your time on listening to music because, okay, I'm trying to keep it to just music because we're really only speaking of the music industry.
Yeah.
But are you even intentional about the lyrics that you're listening to? Do you really pause and actually listen to what is being said to you in your speakers or your earphones and things like that? I think it's not to bash or dismiss people's artwork, but I think as a consumer, being more intentional about what you're listening to, what you are passively consuming, don't be passive about it anymore.
Yeah.
That's all really one can do. And since that's our attention is our energetic currency almost. So if we want to see this different, now that we see how ugly some of it is, removing that from a pedestal does mean maybe don't stream certain stuff anymore. Maybe don't always be subscribed to all the platforms that 24/7, they're giving you the most useless information about people you don't even know and you don't need to know, right? Like that sort of thing is like, if there wasn't a demand for it, where would their money come from? You know? So I think that I would like to believe that no, the art, not all of the art is contaminated, but it does take effort, because I think that also connects to our definition of accountability. And can you really separate your artist from what they are creating if now you have information you really didn't want to know about how this artist is behaving or what they've enabled or what they passively allowed to happen around them? Can I still be grooving, bouncing, whatever to their music if I know about this? Or now I have to accept all of you must be in the same bucket doing all this weird stuff, because how else would this end up on this streaming platform? Why else would you be on stage? Why else would you be getting these endorsements? And I'm just supposed to accept it as is because that's it. I think that as we're shifting from or trying to shift away from this default exploitation, default abuse, default disconnect from what's happening and pretend we're in a bubble as if art is just escapism and that's it. I think we are shifting in a way where we understand that art is a balance of everything, because art is so much of life. So the escapism part cannot be void of the realist part. It cannot be completely disconnected. So it's okay to have art that is supposed to provide whatever those hormones are that makes you happy or makes you light. It's okay to also, but it's okay to also balance that with the art that's also reminding you of all the death and destruction that unfortunately is just happening or still happening, or the unfairness and justice that's still happening. I don't think we need to choose between one or the other. And I feel like we can gradually start holding labels and artists accountable of, you don't need to pretend as if we're all toddlers here with terms of what we want you to produce or not either. And I feel we don't need to be like zombies when it comes to what we are listening to and what we're subscribing ourselves to. So when it comes to music, to be honest, if you feel drained after listening to something, or you be feeling angry after listening to something, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think it's just you didn't eat today. Maybe you need to check on, what are you listening to? Like, do you really need to be listening to that? Are you really listening to these lyrics? It doesn't have to be a religious thing. It doesn't have to be like, oh, so you should never listen to this genre. I'm not going to insist one particular genre needs to be thrown away, because I think all of them are going through the same thing when it comes to the crumbling of the pedestal in this industry. But I feel like as consumers, we are part of maintaining the beauty of art as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, it's the energy currency for me. That's the part that I
Thank
really,
you.
understood. It's true. Everything affects you. The thing about like, oh, like no, you can't be. I don't think. Yeah, we can't be passive anymore. We can't just kind of and it's true. Even how I feel like when I'm like watching something, because some obviously you get, I mean, for me, I still have distractions. Some of you're just kind of watching stuff. I try not to watch useless things. But you look at it, you see it, and after a while, I'm like, I feel so drained, and I'm like, what else? I could probably be doing something else with my life right now. Like there was a time when I was a child, and I didn't need to watch this stuff. And and I'm like, what was I doing when I didn't look at social media? Like, or I was seeing all this stuff. It's like, why do I need to look? I can make my own art in whichever way that is. And yeah, and it's sad that sometimes the more important music is like underrated or seen as like, oh my God, like they talk about real stuff, but no one knows about or cares. But the stupid songs that are silly are the ones that are like super famous and everything. And nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with silly songs. Nothing wrong of singing about your mundane human activity. That's fine too. But there just needs to be like a balance, I think, um, in the music that we listen to. And I think that we can't, continue just be like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like it's fine. Like no, it does matter. Like everything you do does matter. Like and you can't just be. There need to be some. And it's true. If you put it with this thing where, especially when people are like, oh, when like everyone is aware what happened in October, and November last year, where everyone was crying because of the genocide and stuff. And people are like, what can I do? Like, how can I help? Like, what do everyone's like, so kind of, when horrible things are happening, what do I do? And I'm like, well, you can put your money where your mouth is, right? Like your wallet is very important, what you spend your money on. And that can also include music, right? Music that's not really helping or a value, or, music is what, money is what moves things. So if we remove money from something, then there won't be so much power in that, right? And so I think where we're putting our power sometimes can be lessened, or at least we could, it should be held accountable. We should, and for like cancer culture, I don't know how, like you can't really, I don't know how you just say, oh, I'm just not going to talk to this person. Like no, like it needs to be like real council culture. Like you know what I mean? Like you need to actually be like, this music or this thing about it is damaging and is bad for people. We need to stop letting this happen, or we need to stop like consuming stuff that is bad for our health and doesn't really help us and keeps us in a bubble all the time. And I feel like it's okay to be in a bubble sometimes, because yeah, life is hard, but like we can't be in a bubble all the time. We can't just be like, oh, I'll listen to whatever, it doesn't matter, I don't care. And I'm like, no, you like everything affects you. Like you need, like we need to care. That's what the issue is. We're not caring. If you don't care, then that's why the world's exploding, and so yeah, but we I think I try to do that in different ways too, or to listen to music that's helpful and like is not just like like ears bleeding, like you know what I mean, even if it's a great song. But like we need to, especially for like celebrities, like we need to have value to our lives. Like how can you not, you need to, like why would we want to live our whole lives in like this like bubble? And I think it gets old fast. Even if you're passive for a while, it gets old fast, kind of thing. And then also for celebrities too, for fans, especially celebrities who have a very huge fan base. Fans do stuff, right? Like you have power. Like fans will do crazy stuff because of what a celebrity said. So if a celebrity says, "Oh, let's go help and do this awesome thing," your fans will do it, right? Even if they don't care about something, some fans will like, "Oh, the celebrity I love wants to do this, so I'm going to do this."
Mm-hmm.
So if you're able to do really awesome things and great things, and just imagine the power and how much we could shift stuff if fans could go and do like awesome stuff because the celebrity is doing that, right? Or I know sometimes like celebrities will do a thing where, oh, here's my platform, and I'm going to let the people that know what they're talking about use my platform and speak, right? I'm not going to pretend to be an activist when like you're not really one.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You don't have to be. Like, if anything, sometimes when some celebrities make too much noise about things, I don't know how real that is. Whereas you have some other celebrities who they're very quiet, but behind the scenes, they're, I don't need you to be a great celebrity. What I need is for you to be a great human. Like being a great human is more important than,
Bars.
I said what I said.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to be a great celebrity. I need you to be a great human.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing. The celebrity thing is not. it's not real, right? The makeup, the show, you're pretending it's like you're in a movie, you're acting. You're not really, you know what I mean? Like it's a performance, right? But in your real life, if you're really doing stuff and pushing stuff and like meeting with fans and like people see you as a human and doing stuff like that, that's the important thing. And yeah, and I yes, of course, I know that it's not like super super easy, right? We know there's like puppet planting going on as we keep on going back to.
Yes.
We know there's stuff behind the scenes. I know there's things that you see that are like, whoa, I'm a celebrity, but I don't want to do that. Like, okay, well then you're gone. And like, okay, so I have to do that to be on the pedestal. Yeah, you have to like eat humans. Oh, okay. Like, I mean, I don't
Yep.
know. I don't know, man.
Mm.
But some weird stuff going on that needs to be, dealt with. And we have to keep more people accountable. We shouldn't pick and choose who to keep accountable because that happens too, right? Like, well, oh, we're making money off of you, so it doesn't matter what you do, but this other person can do whatever, you know? But I think there definitely is more of like, yeah, more of a shift and people paying more attention and like, you can't be so easily lulled by information that you get. You need to be, which we talked about before, right? In our news industry podcast, where like you need to be mindful of what is coming into your psyche, even the subliminal stuff, because sometimes things are getting in your mind that you're not even aware of because they're subliminal, right? So you need to kind of just be aware of how you're feeling and be active and be like, oh, if I hear and hear two sides of things, if I hear one side, make sure you look into the other side, right? Make sure you can form your own opinions and question your own thoughts about things. And I think that will help. We can't, the passive stuff is no longer, we can't do that anymore. We all have to like be aware of same thing with our other talk about like the food you ingest. Like, these things are going into your body. Like you need to care about what's going in your body. Like that, it literally it affects your health. Like it actually does affect your mental health, physical health, and things like that. So, so I don't, so we'll see, and yeah, a lot of selective accountability stuff going on, and it's very obvious. And anyway, so I'll continue not watching the whole of the awards shows and just, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'll just until they, fix that. But it's just,
Right.
yeah, because that
Until they
just
clean
gave
up their
me
act.
until they clean up their stuff, because y'all be doing weird stuff in the back and we see it and like no, it's like it's the thing where there's an elephant in the room. And I know all y'all celebrities know what's going down. I know you know that, but then we're just not gonna say it. We're just like the elephant is right there. Like it's a huge elephant. Everyone sees it. Why are we pretending? Everybody knows it's there, but we're just gonna be like, oh well, and and we're not saying you have to save the world. You're not a superhero. It's fine, but you can play a small part in doing good things and being a good human and like shedding light on stuff, especially if you have a platform and if you you know have something to share, and it makes me think of this song I heard. I forgot the name of the song, but like in the song, it was something, and it's underrated. It's an underrated song. And there's a song where I think they're like, oh, we like we won't care until the world is like ending, kind of thing. Like people keep on not caring, and if tomorrow we knew that the world was ending, maybe people would care then, kind of thing. And it's just one line that I thought it's such a simple line, but it's like, it's true, right? We keep on, all this horrible stuff is happening, but we keep like, well, the world's still, tomorrow's coming, so it's fine. And it's like, and I'm like, and it's such an important song, but yet so underrated and nobody knows about it. And I'm just like, that is weird to me. Like, so yeah, it's just kind of, like you said before, to say before, art, and the art is not the problem. It's not like, oh, get rid of art, burn celebrities, get them out of it. They have to go have 9-to-5 jobs now. Like, forget about like, you know what I mean? It's not that. It's just it's where we're directing the art. We have to change the direction of the art and the accountability of the art and see what the art stands for, and not just like throw paint at the wall and be like, oh, okay, that's whatever. Like, yeah, that's a cool track though, right? I'm like, yeah, but that's not, and something to direct it differently, because it wasn't always like this, but it just seems more and more it's becoming like it's like kind of, why are we doing this anymore? Why are we pretending like, and even like pretending we don't care? Like, why are we pretending like we like I know a lot of y'all care, but yet we're just kind of coasting. So yeah, so enough
All
with
right.
the
Well,
puppet planting. That's all I
Along
can
with
say.
the puppet plants. We dropped some gems. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna try.
Puppet plants.
I will listen through it.
Yeah.
And so we need to put the quotes in the show notes so y'all can pick up those lines.
Exactly.
And you got to make sure you coin them, that you got these lines from the Curious and Culture podcast. All right. Because we're dropping some one-liners for you.
Yes. Bombs.
There you go.
Nice ones.
Gems, indeed. So thank you so much. This wraps up our conversation, which I think was good. I think we covered quite a few different dots and connected all of them by the end. Yes. So we hope you listening enjoyed it. As always, let us know your thoughts on this episode and the different things that we spoke about. We always love hearing from you. And we will catch you on the next episode.
Yeah, stay blessed, loved, valued. Don't be passive. Okay, bye.
Take care. Bye.